Hello, and welcome to the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction's Career Readiness Standards Professional Learning Modules. In this final module, From Vision to Action, Building Your Future Ready Plan, we'll pause to make sure you and your team have both the foundational knowledge and a shared direction for moving forward beyond these learning modules. This session is about moving from learning to action. You'll reflect on your system's current level of engagement, set clear intentions for growth, and begin shaping a vision plan aligned with the Wisconsin Career Readiness Standards. By the end, you'll have identified concrete next steps that position your system and your students in a place for future success. To make the most of this learning experience, we encourage you to engage actively by taking notes and reflecting on how the content applies to your unique context. Pause the video whenever you need to process the information or dive deeper into the provided resources. If you're able, consider collaborating with colleagues or teams for richer discussions and shared insights. There's also an optional participant workbook available on the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction's WCRS webpage that will support you and your team in working through the reflection prompts, discussions, and activities to get the most out of the WCRS professional learning modules. Finally, don't forget to connect with your regional CISA for additional support as you bring these ideas back to your school or district. Let's dive in. To begin, let's go over this final module's learning objectives. By the end of this module, you will understand how continuous improvement drives career readiness, identify your district's engagement level for action planning, participating, investing, or driving, begin creating a vision plan for WCRS alignment, and strengthen that plan through peer feedback. This is the module where we turn ideas into action. You'll move from exploring frameworks and outcomes to committing to the first steps in your district or system's journey. Let's start with this quote by Hiebert, Gallimore, and Stigler, which reminds us that the history of American education is full of great ideas. Ideas that, unfortunately, never reach their full potential because of the pressure for fast results. In education, we're often tempted to look for quick fixes or immediate solutions to complex challenges. But meaningful, lasting change takes time. There are always brilliant ideas for how to improve our systems, but transforming these ideas into reality can be incredibly difficult. Changing school systems is complex because we're dealing with so many moving parts: curriculum, instruction, leadership, policies, community expectations, and of course, the dynamic needs of our students. And then there are the common barriers that often stand in the way: limited resources, competing priorities, resistance to change, and the challenge of aligning everyone's vision for what success should look like in the future. However, what we know is that when we take a thoughtful and strategic approach to systems change, one that honors the hard work and dedication of everyone involved, and that takes into consideration the values and priorities of our local communities, we can create real, sustainable change. Today, our goal is to move forward in ways that are intentional, supportive of educators and our students, and that ultimately lead to stronger systems and better outcomes for all. As you begin your goal setting and vision planning in this final module, remember, our central tool to guide the change we seek is the Wisconsin Career Readiness Standards. These standards, Career Ready, Learning Ready, and Life Ready, provide the North Star for your planning. They ensure that your vision and goals address the full picture of student success, not just academic achievement, but readiness for life beyond graduation. With the WCRS in mind, let's start by really thinking about what that future could look like. Imagine your students 5 years after graduation. What do you most hope they'll say they were prepared for? And what would you need to do to shift your system to make that vision a reality? Take a moment to reflect and jot down your thoughts before we move forward. There is also a place to record your thoughts in the optional participant workbook available on the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction's WCRS webpage under Resources. After taking some time to think about this vision and think about the changes that your system would need to undergo to achieve that vision, you can feel free to restart your recording to move forward with Module 9. Welcome back. We've just imagined what we want our graduates to be able to say 5 years after they leave us. Those visions don't have to remain abstract dreams. They can become reality. But turning vision into action requires more than just inspiration. It requires a disciplined approach to change. That's where improvement science comes in. Improvement science is built to help schools and districts tackle complex problems step by step. At its core, it grounds us in three essential questions. First, what is the specific problem we are trying to solve? What change might we introduce and why? And finally, how will we know if the change is truly an improvement? These questions shift us away from one-size-fits-all solutions and toward continuous learning. The process isn't about getting it perfect on the first try. It's about testing, learning, and refining as we move forward. Embracing improvement science becomes essential at this stage in our journey, as systemic improvement is a journey, not a single leap. Here are 5 guiding ideas to keep in mind. First, start small, but think big. Focus on one manageable change at a time. Small wins add up and set the stage for bigger transformation. Second, low risk and high learning. This means that you should try out ideas in settings where you can learn without disrupting everything in your system. For example, test a new project in one grade level before scaling it across the entire district. Third, fail fast, learn fast. If something doesn't work, that's okay. Small failures are some of our best teachers. The key is to adjust quickly and keep moving forward. Fourth, expect challenges. Resistance and obstacles are part of every change process. Knowing this ahead of time helps us plan and stay encouraged when bumps appear. And finally, stay open to surprises. Sometimes unexpected outcomes lead to breakthroughs that we didn't anticipate. When we see improvement as a cycle of testing, learning, and adjusting, we give ourselves the best chance for steady, lasting progress. Now you and your team are prepared for the next section, engagement intentions. An engagement intention is a deliberate and thoughtful commitment that outlines how deeply individuals, teams, or systems plan to engage with a process or initiative. In the context of career readiness and systems change, engagement intentions help guide the level of involvement and action participants are ready to take, whether they are just beginning to engage with the Wisconsin Career Readiness Standards or are prepared to make more comprehensive systemic changes. By choosing an engagement intention, participants can align their actions with their current capacity, resources, and readiness for change. It's not about moving at the same pace as everyone else, but rather selecting the right level of engagement that best fits their system's context, whether it be participating, investing, or driving. These engagement intentions will help you determine the best starting point for your system based on your unique context and readiness. Whether it's a small focused step or a more comprehensive approach, you'll find a pathway here that makes sense for your district moving forward. In this next section, we'll walk through 3 levels of engagement intentions: participating, investing, and driving. Each pathway provides a structured way to begin or deepen your alignment with the Wisconsin Career Readiness Standards. The goal is not to do everything at once. It's about identifying the right entry point for your system's current capacity and context. Whether you're just starting to build awareness, setting strategic priorities, or moving toward comprehensive integration, there's a pathway that fits. Each pathway will also give you a progressive action plan that will allow you to realize your system's goals through intentional planning, marked by the stages understand, develop, and go. Let's look at action plans identified for each engagement intention in turn. At the participating level, districts focus on building literacy with the WCRS. This is the stage of creating shared understanding across educators and stakeholders. It is absolutely foundational for long-term sustainable change related to the WCRS. Common actions include professional learning sessions that introduce the standards, reviewing how WCRS connects to your Education for Employment plan, and mapping where the standards already align with your curriculum. The goal at this level is not sweeping change. It's ensuring that everyone understands the standards and is prepared for deeper work in the future. At this stage, the goal is to be actively engaged in learning and connecting current district work to the WCRS. That means first developing a clear understanding of what the standards are and why they were created. Next, we develop by planning on how to integrate WCRS into your Education for Employment plan. Finally, we take action by completing the ACP assessment with a focus on WCRS and aligning your E4E plan accordingly. These steps lay the groundwork for moving from awareness to action in the future. To support your work at the participating level, the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction provides several resources: the Wisconsin Guide to Publishing District ACP and E4E plans, exemplar district plans, and webinars on developing an ACP culture. You'll also find insights from student voice studies and other top resources for career readiness. These tools are designed to help you connect your current work to the standards and start building momentum for change. All of these resources are available on the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction's WCRS and ACP web pages. The second engagement intention is investing. Here, districts move beyond awareness to setting clear strategic priorities that reflect the values and needs of the community. A key focus at this stage is developing or revisiting your Portrait of a Graduate or Portrait of a Learner. This process brings together stakeholders to define what your community wants for all students and to ensure those goals connect with the WCRS. At the investing level, you're building readiness for larger shifts like competency-based education and career-connected learning by making sure your priorities are clear, community-driven, and aligned with the standards. The investing goal is to develop readiness for deeper systemic change by cultivating a Portrait of a Learner or graduate that aligns with the WCRS. This involves 3 steps. First, it's important to understand the portrait concept and review model examples. Second, develop your process by engaging stakeholders and gathering input. Third, act or go by creating or recommitting to your portrait and mapping the WCRS to those outcomes. This ensures your district has a clear, community-informed vision that links directly to career readiness. To support districts at the investing level, the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction provides resources like Battelle for Kids Examples, CASEL Connections to Social Emotional Learning, and Next Generation Learning Challenge models. You'll also find the ACP self-assessment tool to help measure alignment and progress. These resources provide practical examples and planning tools to guide your district as you develop strategic priorities connected to WCRS. The highest engagement intention here is driving, where WCRS becomes fully integrated across your district's curriculum and culture. At this level, career readiness is not an add-on. It is embedded into academic courses, SEL, and career-connected learning. Your Education for Employment plan evolves into a living document that guides continuous improvement and systemic alignment. The goal is a district-wide system where every student is guaranteed readiness for career, learning, and life. At the driving level, the goal is to create a synergistic system where WCRS, your Portrait of a Graduate or a Learner, and local priorities are fully integrated and in place. First, understand how academic and non-academic outcomes connect and how continuous improvement cycles support that alignment. Next, develop by planning for vertical alignment of WCRS across grade levels and updating your E4E plan as a living document. At the Go phase, you will embed WCRS into the core academic curriculum and culture of your district. This means that career readiness becomes part of daily learning in every classroom and across extracurricular activities. You'll also scale up continuous improvement cycles to monitor progress, guarantee equity and access to career opportunities for all students, and continuously refine your systems using real-time data. At this level, your district is fully committed to driving comprehensive change, ensuring that WCRS is not just implemented, but embedded into the fabric of your educational system. To help districts working at the driving level, the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction provides resources on competency-based education, equity in ACP, and career-based learning experiences. Other tools include the WiseLearn Career Readiness Hub, Regional Career Pathways, the Youth Apprenticeship Program, and SEL Alignment resources. These resources support districts as they integrate WCRS into every part of teaching and learning. Identifying your engagement intention is only the first step. The real impact comes when you take that starting point and build a plan for where you want to go. That's where vision planning comes in. The next activity will help you outline key change ideas that connect your current intention to your longer-term goals for career readiness. Before your team moves into vision planning, This is an excellent time for you to pause the recording and discuss about the engagement intention that seems most appropriate for your district. To understand which engagement intention to select, it's important to think about other district priorities, district resources, and your overall human and system capacity for engaging with the WCRS this academic year. Selecting the correct engagement intention for your district is the most vital part of the decision making. Choosing something manageable and achievable is the most important point to make at this step in your journey. As you discuss which engagement intention to select, you may also record your ideas in your optional WCRS participant workbook in the Module 9 section. We recommend pausing the recording here and having a discussion about the engagement intentions at this point. When your team has consensus and you're ready to move on, resume the recording. Welcome back. Now that you've selected your engagement intention that is most appropriate for your capacity and resources and goals, it's time to dig into the vision planning activity, the centerpiece of this final module. We recommend giving yourself at least 35 minutes for this next section. Before you begin, take a moment to reflect on where your system currently stands. What do you have already in place? What areas still need attention? And what are one or two key changes that can make the biggest difference right now? Your engagement intention, whether your district plans to participate, invest, or drive with the WCRS for this academic year, can help you select the right priorities. Once you've identified those priorities, use the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction's vision planning template to outline them clearly. This template can be found on the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction's WCRS webpage under Resources. Think of this file as both a roadmap and a communication tool. On the left side, you'll name your specific focus area, for example, revising a portrait of a graduate, strengthening career-based learning experiences, or aligning your ACP and E4E plans with WCRS. From there, you'll use the columns to describe what progress would look like at each stage, what's happening now, what it would look like with a few key changes, what it would look like halfway to your goal, and what full implementation would look like. The most important thing is to keep your success criteria simple and observable. Anyone reading your plan, a teacher, a principal, a board member, or even a student, should be able to understand the steps and see whether they've been achieved. Remember, this vision plan is not only for you and your team. It's designed to help you advocate for change in your district. By putting your ideas in a clear visual format, you'll be ready to bring others into the conversation, whether that's colleagues, administrators, school boards, or community partners. So as you work, think both about what will move your system forward and how you can share that vision with others. Let's dive more deeply in here to the blank vision planning document where you'll be outlining your key change ideas for improving career readiness in your system. The idea here is to help you clarify and map out the steps needed to implement these changes over time. On this slide, we'll go over more in-depth details about how to complete this so that you and your team are prepared during the work time. First, start on the left side of the document. In that column, you'll list the specific change or focus area you want to address. This could be something like improving career-based learning experiences, aligning your district with the Wisconsin Career Readiness Standards, or, as we'll see in our next example, revamping your district's portrait of a graduate. The selection of what to focus on can really be guided by your engagement intentions this school year. A good goal isn't necessarily the biggest goal or most transformative goal. It's really about selecting a feature to change that is right for your system given your system's readiness, capacity, and priorities. Before selecting something to focus on, review again the pathway that you thought was the best fit for your system at this time: participating, investing, or driving. Any step you take, if it is achievable for your system, can support improvements in your career readiness programming and is the right fit for you at this time. After you've finished the furthest left column, you'll identify your success criteria at various stages of the change process. Success criteria are clear, observable, and measurable indicators of progress. In other words, what will we see or experience at each stage of implementation if we're moving in the right direction? These statements should be simple and direct. For example, under "What would it look like after a few key changes?" you might have success criteria like "Team convened and agreement on revised POG reached," or "Stakeholder input collected and analyzed." The key is to keep this process clear and focused. You don't need to outline every tiny detail of the change. You just want to focus on the major steps and visible progress markers that will help you monitor your progress. Remember that this tool should be easy to understand and easy to share. You want to be able to take this back to your district and use it as a conversation starter with other stakeholders. So don't overthink it. Keep it straightforward and accessible. As you work on your vision planning document, here are a few tips to keep in mind. First, don't try to tackle everything at once. Choose one or two areas of focus that really matter for your district right now, something that aligns with your engagement intentions and feels doable. Second, think about change as a journey. Ask yourself, what does this look like today? What would a few small steps look like? And what would success look like when we fully implemented the change? That progression helps you break the work into manageable pieces. Third, when you write success criteria, keep it simple and specific. Use language that makes it easy to see whether the step is complete. For example, instead of writing "improve communication," you might write "new POG graphic shared at staff meeting." And finally, whenever possible, involve others. Bring in teachers, students, administrators, or community members to help shape the success criteria. Collaboration builds buy-in and creates shared ownership of the work. The more straightforward and collaborative your plan is, the more likely it is to gain momentum and lead to lasting change. Here is an example. Notice how the focus area is simple and clearly defined. In this case, the district is looking to establish a portrait of a graduate. This would be a tremendous step forward for the district and would help realign system priorities to future readiness. The success criteria in each column are short, observable statements. For example, convening a team, collecting input, or gaining board approval. By using simple success criteria, you create a plan that is easy to monitor, communicate, and share with stakeholders. The power of this tool is its simplicity. It's designed to help you and your colleagues take the first steps without being overwhelmed. All right, we've arrived at the time to actually complete this capstone activity of the WCRS Professional Learning modules. You'll use the vision planning tool to identify a few change ideas that can move your system forward. The tool, again, is going to ask you to name where you are now, what it would look like with a few changes, what it would look like halfway, and what full implementation would look like. Remember that the goal isn't to design a perfect plan. It's to outline clear, observable steps that give your system direction and momentum. We recommend that you and your team pause here to spend at least 35 minutes discussing and completing this activity. As a reminder, the template for the activity can be found on the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction's WCRS webpage under Resources. Pause the recording here and return to the recording when you have finished this activity. A review of the directions and tips can be found in the optional participant workbook under Module 9 if you want to reference these guiding thoughts during your work time. Welcome back. Now that you've had time to complete your first draft of your vision plan, it's time to gather some peer feedback. Pair up with a partner or a small group to share what you've come up with so far. Make sure you start with your why and communicate to your partner or small group your reasons for selecting the key aspect for priority within your system change process. Then, share your observable success criteria at each step of the continuous improvement journey. If you're aware of any other schools that have engaged with these professional learning modules, this can also be a powerful time to engage with others outside of your system to learn more about what this could look like in diverse settings across the state. Learning from others can help you brainstorm, consider, and refine your own priorities for your system. You might come away with new ideas or adjustments that will help you succeed and feel validated in your thinking before returning to your district to share your learning during and following your engagement with these professional learning modules. If I were sharing my example with a partner, I might say, our district's Portrait of a Graduate is outdated and underutilized. Many people don't even know it exists, so it isn't serving as the guiding framework we need for student outcomes. I see revising and reintroducing the Portrait of a Graduate as essential because it represents the foundation of what we want all students to embody when they leave our schools. For success criteria, I think we need to outline clear steps. For example, right now the Portrait of a Graduate is barely referenced and not part of any district decision making. Our first key change would be convening a team of stakeholders, students, teachers, parents, and community members, to discuss why the Portrait of a Graduate matters and how to make it more relevant. By the midpoint, we would have gathered broad input, revised the portrait of a graduate, and gained school board approval. Students could even help design a new visual that feels current and engaging. At full implementation, the portrait of a graduate would guide curriculum, instruction, and decision making. Educators would use it to frame teaching practices. Students would understand and work toward the skills it outlines, and the community would see it as our district's North Star. After sharing this example, I'd ask my partner to give me feedback. Do you think these steps are realistic? Are the success criteria clear? Did I miss any critical voices or milestones? After getting this input from my partner, we'd switch roles to strengthen each other's plans together. After sharing, it's important to take a moment to reflect upon your discussion and what you learned from this experience. Think about what insights did you gain from the feedback, how will you apply those takeaways, and what are your next steps? Reflection is really what moves us from an activity to a plan for action. Use these insights to refine your approach and prepare to bring others on board. For those of you using the optional participant workbook, there's a space in your Module 9 pages to record these key insights and next steps. Recording your responses helps to keep your team on track and accountable to the goals. If you want to pause here to discuss the feedback and record those responses, feel free to pause the Module 9 and resume when you're ready to close out the WCRS Professional Learning Module series. Welcome back. We hope the experience of sharing and receiving feedback was meaningful to you as you work toward a strong message for your own system on WCRS alignment. As we close Module 9 and the entire WCRS Professional Learning Module series, we want to thank you for your commitment to this work. These modules were designed to inspire you and your team to center career readiness in ways that benefit not only your current students, but also your educators, your future students, and the communities they will one day serve. Remember, these modules are just the beginning. Small steps lead to big change. The vision plan you've started is more than an activity. It's the first step toward aligning WCRS with your system's goals in practice. Each small step builds momentum, and together those steps create transformation. And you're not alone in this work. Across Wisconsin, educators, districts, CISAs, and the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction are working together to build a culture of readiness where every student in the state graduates prepared for life, learning, and career. Thank you for engaging in this series of professional learning modules on the Wisconsin Career Readiness Standards. The work you've become here is only your starting point. Return to these modules as you refine your plans and lean on your colleagues, your regional CISA, and the Department of Instruction as partners along the way. Together, we can create future-ready systems that ensure every Wisconsin student is not only prepared for graduation, but equipped to thrive in every pathway they choose. Thank you.